Well, my dear Bulas and Barras, welcome back to Krown's Crypto Cave. It is this last day of the year 2020, and I'm sure that everyone's looking forward to the end of 2020, but guess what? Doesn't fucking matter. Nothing's going to change in 24 hours, of course, and time is an arbitrary concept to begin with, but that doesn't matter because my New Year's resolutions this time, it's going to be different, and I will definitely be accomplishing all my goals because 2021 is mine. I love seeing that on like Instagram and Twitter and social media venues. Like, this year is my year. It's like, what about last year? What happened there? Anyways, not to down talk anyone, of course, but hey, if you're going to make a change, just make it right now. Now's the best time to do it because then you won't have to think about what happens tomorrow. You can just think about, well, I already started and now I'm at the best place that I can possibly be. Anyways, with that said, I'm going off from tangents right now. Do want to wish you the best, and the happiest. I have some big announcements today, actually. But first and foremost, put the folks here on the Krown Chain application, which you found at app.krownchain.net. And what do we see? We do see that the summer sale still is 20% off. However, it is actually a winter sale, and it's going to be ending in the next 3 days or so. And what else do we see? We do see Bitcoin dominance heading up once again today, above that 70.5% region, technically to 70.67% at the current moment in time. So once again, Bitcoin bulldozing to the upside is bad for altcoins on the whole. Little boo cake party going all around for the last few months, and I imagine it's probably not stopping anytime soon. Open interest also heading up a little bit from yesterday to today as well, suggesting that once again the lower term time frame breakout is efficacious, as we do see open interest up, price action up, and volume all up in the same tick, and that is looking good. And the fear and greed index also at an all-time, I actually don't know if this is an all-time high, but this is the highest that we've seen it in the last year or so, at a 95 from a 91 of yesterday, of which, I mean, we've been living in the extremely greedy zone for nearly 2 months now, I think. Yeah, it's going back all the way to early November when we did see that we did get into, the extremely greedy zone. So fair enough. Now, this is, of course, a little bit concerning, but on its own, not concerning enough. It needs to be coupled up with other derivatives of price action, or preferably price action itself. But as far as structure goes, we'll talk about in the higher term timeframes. Well, it's got a lot of work to do, to be fair. Anyways, looking at our other market metrics in the data tab, what do we see? We do see that the funny rate is coming down quite significantly, but still FTX a bit of an outlier there at 0.11%. Of which we don't see any of the exchanges anywhere remotely near that. OKX, the next highest one at 0.04%. And with that in mind, I would be looking at that as, again, a topic of consideration, but I want to see 3+ exchanges get above that 0.1% funny rate region and stay there for like a day or two, maybe even 3 days. And then that would be very likely, the next good time to really be looking for a local high, perhaps. But for right now, as you can see, it's just a nice little middle finger, so it doesn't really mean all that much on its own. Now, I do want to get back into this as well before we get into the actual content, and I imagine a lot. Well, hopefully this is relevant to a lot of people. To the people who have gotten the caretaker STC indicator, I do want to let you know that you now have it for life. It's no longer a yearly subscription. We're actually gonna make it for life. It just makes it easier on our end, as deals with PayPal and whatnot it's dealing with PayPal is a fucking nightmare, to be honest with you. So it's just easier for us and probably better for you that we just make it a lifetime purchase. So for everyone who's gotten the caretaker STC, it is now lifetime. You don't need to do anything. You don't need to email us. You don't need to do anything with PayPal. You don't need to do anything by DMing me on Discord. It's all good. It's applied retroactively. You now have it for life, assuming that it actually follows through. And for anyone in the future, yes, it is for life as well for you too. Anyways, with that said, what do we see over here on the Krown Chain application, or that we already even said? Nope, I'm going in loops now, and we already spoke about that. So I think right now would be a good time to actually go into the actual price charts themselves. And again, big focus today on the long-term timeframes, of which we actually do have a 3-day closing today, but that's actually not the biggest, baddest one. Obviously, we have the monthly, bi-monthly, and quarterly all closing today as well. But as far as the 3-day goes, I look at this to kind of define the more proximal trend. And in this case right here, we're going to once again have a chance to close above the topside Toronto band, which I basically have the same analysis as I have been having for the last 3 months now, going all the way back on over here, where as long as the 3 days close above the topside Toronto band, Bitcoin is in trending motion now, meaning that I am looking for new highs on this run, just like we've been looking for new highs on this run for the last few weeks right here, and I would continue to look further north. But for right now, the topside Toronto band is currently sitting at 27,550. So as long as Bitcoin closes above there at the end of tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern time, I remain short-term, medium-term, and long-term bullish. Obviously, we'll talk about the macro in a second here. However, that is looking pretty damn good. Let me just make sure that I'm recording and the microphone's working, so that's all good. And let me probably turn off the computer sounds right there before I scare the shit out of you. Apologies for that. But more importantly, looking at this right here, obviously this will close later tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and that will naturally rise up as well with the next successive candle. And where is that going to be likely coming in around? Well, for reference, the last candle to this candle is about a 1,500 differential right there. So it could be relevant to say that the next open actually will bring it up to somewhere around 29,000 bucks. That wouldn't be out of the question here. And with that in mind, that would imply that Bitcoin very likely does come back down and test around that region, of which kind of sitting at there right now. But does it make a new high first? Probably yes. So with that in mind, that would be my next sort of short-term identification for looking for further continuation on this rally. And where would those continuation targets be? Well, if we go back down to the short-term timeframes over here, remember that we do have this the 4-spot 236 right at 25,000, or sorry, not 25,000, 29,500 is what I'm trying to say. And could you argue that we've already hit it? I mean, pretty fucking close right there. 350 it looks like on that 4-hour high. What do we have on GDEX? Yeah, we got 321. Okay, so a little bit more there, yes. However, now we start to enter into, once again, the twilight zone, and this is we are really getting into the fucking twilight zone right now, and we can stay in the twilight zone for a little bit longer. We have a little bit of a conversation about this in the program Discord earlier today, and basically, yes, things do look incredibly extended. Yes, things are incredibly frothy. Yes, things are very much overdone here. But as I've been saying for a long time, they can get more overdone. And one of the biggest things that I've learned in traditional markets is do not try to guess the parabolic blow off top high until it actually does indeed happen. So while I will still continue to overlay areas of interest, of which it's been working pretty damn well, especially with the fibs getting it right on this consolidation right here, this consolidation right here, this consolidation down here, and this one right here as well, I would say that still, those are just areas of interest for short-term profit taking off of algo targets, essentially, as that's, this is the next one in front of your face right here. So Bitcoin does take out 29,500 to the upside on a 4-hour total closure, which it's looking like it probably does here as well. Then I would be looking for the next set of targets, of which we're actually going to have to take a new Fibonacci extension to get deeper targets, because Bitcoin is, well, it's kind of played out that last consolidation from this region right here on the weekly. But what we can do here is we can take it from the whole consolidation of 2018 to 2020, as you can see in this region, and that would imply that we do have further targets, further areas of interest to the upside. After that, 31,500 would be an area of interest, 33,000 an area of interest, and then 35,000 an area of interest. And then above there, things get like a little bit too crazy for me to talk about on video just yet. So I think I'd rather just kind of let those ones play out first, if they actually are even going to play out to begin with, and then come back to it when it is more relevant, so that I don't come off as a fucking moon boy, because I would like to remain grounded here. And while Bitcoin has, certainly much been on a moon mission as of recent times, I should also say that, while I do think it still continues here, at some point in time, obviously what goes up must come down. And in this case, I would be looking for Bitcoin to play at one of those pretty nasty pullbacks. There's a couple of major time frames that I do think are relevant here. Now, historically speaking, in traditional markets, January, especially early January, is a damn good time for a pullback. Historically speaking, you usually kind of float up at the end of the year, except for 2018, which is the first time really I saw that in motion. But for the most part, float up at the end of the year during holiday season, and then early January, real market starts once again, and that's typically where you do see your corrections. However, there's also another big market dynamic coming into play here as well, and that is Ethereum futures being put on CMEs, good English Krown, and so typically what we see with that, on a big event, you typically do see climactic rallies. Now, with that in mind, we do have a prior historical example to look at for this, and that would of course be CME Bitcoin on 20,000 bucks right here. That was actually when the CME futures debuted around this region. Obviously, I think it was actually a little bit before the actual high. So yes, things can still go a little bit more after that, but that's the time to really be looking at and considering, hey, this might be party over for a little bit. So what I'd actually expect over this next month or two is, or I guess it would be this next month, because we're pretty much in January anyways. What's 24 hours in a day? It's not like it just turns to 2021 and it's like everything's new, everything's different. It's a whole new fucking world right now. No, of course not. But I'd probably be looking for Mr. Buteau to take the reins for a bit, especially during the end of January. And then once that date comes, when the CMEs debut, or sorry, when the futures debut on CME, probably going to be the next major pivot. Now, when we talk about the higher term timeframes here, and again, big focus on the higher term timeframes today, is we have the monthly, bi-monthly, and quarterly all closing, and technically the yearly too. Does that make me bearish on the next high that's being printed? No, if we're talking about the macro status of this, but it would make me look for a big move down to the next relevant macro support, of which I would say the topside Toronto band on the monthly here is going to be an obvious area. That is going to currently be coming in around currently just below 21,000 bucks, but that will rapidly rise up. For example, the November to December differential is about 4,000 bucks actually. So that could very easily come up to about 24,000, maybe even 25,000. So certainly coming back down there in early January would not be out of the question. In fact, it'd probably be quite likely if I had to guess, and I would be looking for bounces along that region as well. Now, of course, we need to actually see this open up in real time coming into tomorrow's open. But just doing a little bit of what's called extrapolation here, probably somewhere around that region, 25,000 bucks. Anyways, going to the bi-monthly here as well. Actually, while we're on the monthly, let's go over this for a second. Monthly MACD, again, very aggressive here, but there is something that does stand out. As Bitcoin does make new highs on this run, we do see new highs on the MACD histogram. So long term, this is actually a very efficacious breakout. And if I had to call it right now, yes, Bitcoin very likely does reach a lot higher than here. I know I really want to kind of temper myself by not being a full-on fucking moon boy, but ever since 11,500 was taken out right here, I mean, this is continuation of uptrend. It's fucking good. So while we're not necessarily in the TA nerd session just yet, yeah, I'm fucking bullish, I guess, long term. Now, of course, because we're dealing with big numbers, we're going to see fucking catastrophic moves to the downside, but they're not going to register all that much if you get rid of the price scale over on the left-hand side because, well, as you can see with structure, Bitcoin's really not even in trouble until it gets back down below about 14,000 bucks. That also means, technically speaking, Bitcoin could come all the way to back down to $14,000 and be macro still good. So with that in mind, to be fair, I don't really think Bitcoin's going to go down to 14,000 bucks, but in like a worst case scenario, that's what I'd be looking for, assuming that everything does remain bullish on the long term. Anyways, as it stands right now, what do we see with with monthly ADX DMI? We do see that the ADX is strengthening while the DMI plus is dominant and also making higher highs above what we saw in June 2019. Again, good overall. And if we go over here to the bi-monthly and quarterly, I want to see what these guys are printing as well. And bi-monthly tells a story once again. Actually, let's go to BLX index, just has more price action history. And let's take these off for now. And of course, going to have a chance to close above the top side Toronto band. This is going to be the first actual closure above it for, in the last few years. Of course, the last rally that we saw, the last major rally that we saw, bull market, if you will, from 2016 to 2018, was started off of a bi-monthly closer above the top side Toronto band, and then producing about a 2,128% and 69% move right there. And as you can see, Bitcoin's actually gonna have its first closure above, very likely confirmed later today, and that would be met with any sort of a closure above 19,950 about. And of course, for reference, once again, this one actually did rise up about 5,000 bucks as well, 6,000 bucks as well, actually. Yeah, about 6,000 bucks there almost. So this will this will certainly catapult quite a fair bit more. But at the end of the day, still, would be coming in actually around that mid to low, or sorry, not mid to low, but mid $20,000 region, of which we saw the same thing on the monthly as well. So kind of overlaying more, bouncy bounce targets for a big time potential dump. I mean, at this point, that would be about a $4,000 dump, $5,000 dump about. And if we go over here to the quarterly as well, we have the same sort of setup, of course, as Bitcoin is going to have a chance to very likely close above the top side Toronto band. This one actually coming in about the same level as the bi-monthly, and the monthly kind of at the same level as well. This one a little bit lower, 19,350. And again, I mean, I think the quarterly kind of tells all. You don't need to be a fucking professional trader to look at this chart and say, that looks like an uptrend. That looks pretty fucking good. That is bullish actually. and indeed, it does look very good here. Momentum oscillators, same thing, although we don't really have enough price action history to like give them the full on go here, but ADX is starting to strengthen once again. MACD is kind of incomprehensible right there, so I don't think that we should really make much of it. But what about the bi-monthly? Same thing, ADX getting stronger and DMI plus dominant, and bi-monthly MACD making new highs above the prior histogram highs. So this is the breakout is real. We've kind kind of known that since 11,500 bucks. But now that we're, you know, getting these higher term timeframes to solidify themselves, it's going to further build up that constructive behavior over the long period of time. And it basically remains, it's probably going to make me bullish throughout the year of 2021 on the whole, on the macro scale. Again, there will be pullbacks, of course, but as Bitcoin is looking really fucking good on the, you know, even on a daily right here, it's it's like, you know, are we going to play out a pullback sooner rather than later? I do think that Bitcoin likely makes new highs on this run. About 30,000 bucks is, you know, is the next sort of psychological number. Of course, that is around our 4.236 extension right here. And if we do look at a more long-term one as well, based off of this chart, I believe we did have something within the vicinity there too. If we pull this back out, hey, where the fuck is my chart? There we go. Yeah, the 3-spot extension, or no, that's actually not going to be it. But, you know, a lot of things kind of overlay within this region around 30,000 bucks, but it's really not a big level, actually. It is going to be a short-term time frame algo target for profit taking at the 4.236, as we identified here a while ago. But that's about 29,500, and I think that you kind of already saw that move, actually. And I essentially remain bullish on this price action as long as we're above the resolution point from this prior consolidation on the short-term timeframes, which admittedly is all the way down at about 27,600. So as long as Bitcoin is above that level, I am short-term, medium-term, and long-term and macro bullish. However, that does mean, and because Bitcoin does have these massive ranges here, that Bitcoin can come down, you know, about another $1,000 and still remain even short-term bullish. I mean, the 21 exponential moving average on the 4 hour is literally coming in right around the 3.618, which was our prior resolution to the upside off of this consolidation phase right here. So again, perspective, things are fucking crazy, and just understand that you are, you know, if you are entering into these levels, you're naturally going to have a little bit more, you know, price action, situational risk rather than, you know, well, than typically you would if like Bitcoin was at a fucking $10,000 number. I mean, we're dealing with big numbers here, almost 30,000 for, you know, for what it's worth. I mean, you might as well just round up at this point to 30,000 bucks for a little bit of mental math, and you know, $1,000 move on a $30,000 number. I mean, what is that? It's not, it's not much. It's what it is. So again, perspective on the whole. Now, while we are here on the lower term timeframes, what should we be looking at? We do see that 4 hour RSI is still very constructive. I do like it overall. However, short term does have a little bit of downside there, as it does ride the exponential. 4 hour Joule did get into a bullish posturing once again, as we spoke about yesterday, was likely, and sell signals were not going to play out. That was the right call. And again, that is, and you can identify that if you have the Joule by looking at the slopes of these. That's what's really, really important with this to avoid the potential signals that aren't going to work out. Anyways, what else do we have? We do have 4 hour Stokes crisscrossing down right now, but will actually open back onto the upside with any sort of a closure above 28,600. So currently speaking, Bitcoin about $300 above that, a little bit more than $300 above that, with 2 hours, 21 minutes, and 50 seconds to go to closure. So by the time that I post this video, we'll probably have clarity on the situation, any sort of a closure above that level, and then yes, momentum remains the upside. I know it is in the critical zone, but that's not a problem in and of itself. I want to see it kind of, you know, also between the critical zone and the edge of the critical zone right here, actually, for a strong read. Anyways, going down to the 3 hour, what do we see? Or actually 4 hours, should say, as we identified yesterday, the contraction phase in historical volatility percentile still carrying on, and I'm kind of looking at the 4 hour, 3 hour, and 2 hour HVPs to contract into the next high. That's typically what you see in traditional markets. You see highs and rallies being made on lowering volatility over time, actually. And what typically happens is once you get to, you know, very, very low digits, that's when typically you do get, you know, your last push on the, you know, on the blow off, and then it's game, and then it's game on once again for the traders. But for right now, you know, still, I suppose, hodling, although albeit very, very, you have to be very, 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 very quick to switch around if and when Bitcoin does switch around itself, because it will be fucking fast, it'll be fucking brutal. And while I would still remain bullish on the long term on the macro, you know, we can play up like we spoke about before, almost a $10,000 move to the downside, and that would not really even register as breaking structure on the higher term timeframes. So looking at a 3 hour right here, what do we see? We see 3 hour Stokes still erect as well. They will remain as erect as long as above 28,730 for this next closure coming in 20 minutes and 24 seconds. So this one will certainly be clarified by the time that I post this video. So it's about how long it takes to process. 3 hour RSI, very good here as well, very constructive. Overall, I would be looking for this run to continue upwards and onwards in the same sort of contraction phase going on right here. So we do see good confluence between all these different timeframes thus far. Good. Anyways, bi-hourly, what do we see here? We do see actually crossing down a little bit right now. We'll remain to the downside as long as we're below 29,000 and about 200. So looking a little bit likely on this next one. However, sideways here above, again, our short-term time frame range of 27.6 is constructive. We can come all the way back down there, completely fine. It's not until we actually break this level right here where I do start to switch on to short-term bearish with potential to get medium-term bearish. Medium-term bearish does happen below this level right here on this past prior consolidation below 26.2. If that condition is met, if we actually do break below here, even on a 2-hour closure, although a 4-hour would make me feel a lot more comfortable, I would extend that move another $2,000 down to the 2-spot 414 right here as I hear Elsa wake up, probably bulldozing. Hey, what are you doing over there? anyways, that would be around the 2-spot 414 and a bounce implied along the way somewhere around 24.5 as well, but that would very likely just be that, just a bounce with a real target of this area right here. That would be your algo target. Anyways, everything else pretty much standard as what we saw from the other time frames, so not really much to talk about there. And then hourly, what do we see? We do see hourly Stokes coming down. I'd pay significant attention to the hourly Stokes. They've kind of been a bit of a cheat code as of recent times, especially with the bullish signals. Of course, we've seen a lot of different time frames go through this, but right now the hourly seems to be one of those time frames that just seems to be working. And whenever you find something like that, abuse it, and use it. This is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, but I do. We find these things all the time. Yes, they do change, but they typically hold up for a few months, of which the hourly Stokes have actually been really good for the past month and a half to 2 months now. Actually, going way back, especially down to $18,000, which was literally more than $10,000 ago. How fucking crazy is that? Anyways, hourly RSI good here as well. Looks constructive within the bullish control zone. I'm basically looking for a price action to take a stab somewhere around $30,000 probably. Anyways, let's go through the medium-term time frame, see what we're looking at right here. The 12-hour RSI, very good. I'd be looking for this one to head upwards and onwards. 12-hour Stokes, once again, back into the critical zone. Again, it is a little bit concerning here. It's going to take a lot to kind of keep it here, or actually not as much as I would have expected. 27,950. So yeah, very likely does remain to the upside on this next tick. But keep in mind that this area right here does seem to be a natural resistance in the 90, very low 90 region, where I just put this horizontal. You do see plenty of highs being put in around here, going all the way back, except for a couple one-offs in April of this year, that being 2020, February, of course, as well. That was actually during the old coronavirus high, before the old coronavirus dump. And once again, does it hit this level? Once again, probably yes. And just historically speaking, it has been a pretty damn good area to look for, at the very least, pullbacks. So it would still imply more highs on this run, to be fair. And again, 12-hour RSI, very, very good here. But we're getting close. That probably does hit that level, early January, at the very latest, I'd guess, maybe 1 week into January at the most. It's going to naturally, come into some sort of a drama there, I'd imagine. Anyways, what else do we want to check out? 12-hour HVP going sideways. What about daily? Daily back up and at 'em as well. Oh my God. We will see it remain to the upside as long as we're above 20,077.88 cents. And daily jewel. This is not going to be a sell signal. This is a warning signal, but again, all have positive slopes, so no thank you, sir. And daily RSI, could be making some bearish divergence here if it confirms a high here, but first needs to confirm a high. And do we have a high confirmation as it is right now? Fuck no, we don't. It would take at least another day of price action to further confirm that. And then yeah, we could very easily target a move down to 24,000. And I do think that we very likely do get that move down to 24,000 in the month of January. But the question is when, right? And of course, looking at the short-term time frame structure, that would be my identification tool for that as it is right now. Let's go check out CME, see if there's anything, particular note right here. Daily actually does have that nice gap right around, right actually below 24,000 bucks. So I do like the confluence there. Of course, do want to be aware of this one here, 18,400. These are professional gaps, or what's known as professional gaps. So I wouldn't be surprised if it does get filled later, but later, typically takes longer is the idea, because these are essentially breakouts and runaways that don't really come back for a little bit of time. What about the lower term time frames? 4-hour looks more or less the same. 3-hour looks more or less the same. Bi-hourly looks more or less the same. Hourly looks the same. Yeah. So all time frames are kind of in concert here. And that's what I'd be looking for. Anyways, let's go over and check out Caretaker's STC. I do want to see what the hourly range is showing right now. And yes, okay, so I do like this. And by the way, if you have the STC, I really, really like the hourly. The lower term timeframes I like the most, and then I like kind of comparing it with like a 4x multiple of that time frame, and to confirm like more hefty targets, if you will. So on this one right here, it is showing the range between about 30,000 bucks to the upside. So I do look at that psychological level as likely to produce a short-term pullback, at least on the first test, on the first pass. After that, game on once again. I mean, realistically, after that level, we don't really have too much stopping Bitcoin from, you know, another $1,000 or $2,000 rip, which is kind of crazy. And again, we are in the twilight zone of this rally, but the twilight zone can get more crazy until you actually have a real high put in, and we don't have that yet. So again, it's just, you know, just go with the flow. Enjoy it, my friends. Enjoy it. Also showing natural support right around 26.7, which would be essentially the bottom side of the short-term range. A little bit higher than that, to be fair, but hey, close enough is close enough. And you could even use that level too. It will naturally come down, you know, in the next few opens as well. But for now, still bias the upside here. Have to be on the short-term time frames. I know it sounds crazy. It's just, you know, until I get some change of behavior here, I can't turn. I can't even really look for like anything more than a short-term pullback. And again, these things will happen fast, but right now, still good. I should also talk about this as well, because I did say that we would focus on higher term timeframes today. Let's go back on over here. Yeah, we can do it on this chart. Okay, and do I have it already done? No, I don't. Damn it. Did I do it on this chart then? Yeah, I did do it on this chart. All right, so here we go. BLX index. I'm going to take off the Krown bands right here, and what we've identified in the past, just for a little bit more fun action here, is anytime that Bitcoin's closed on new weekly highs, it's essentially melted up for a while. Starting off with this first one all the way back in July 2010, when Bitcoin was literally like 9 cents, and once it closed on new highs right here, that's a 460% melt to the upside, and then, you know, goes into a little bit of consolidation, closes on new highs right here on the weekly, and then melts up again for another almost 200% before playing out a little bit of a short-term reversal, and then same thing right here, closes on new all-time highs for the weekly, and then melts up another 2,800%. So we're talking about a 400%, a 200%, and a 2,800% move thus far. And again, for reference, this is when Bitcoin was like at 31.75, like $31.75 for a high, then reverses again for a few months, and then makes new all-time highs on the weekly closure right here, melts up for another 1,200%. So again, these are, you know, they don't look like much on a log scale, but it is quite a fair bit. And then we have the same thing over here, close on new highs, and then melts up for another 600%. You know, so you're kind of coming up with a range. On the lower side, we saw a 200% move. On the upper side, we saw about a 2,000% move. This one reversed for about a year before closing on new all-time highs, and then melt up to 20,000 for almost another 2,000% move to the upside. And then what do we have right here? Well, of course, we closed on new all-time highs not so long ago at end of November, and ever since then, Bitcoin has put in what kind of a rally? A 50% rally. So is this really out of the ordinary here of what we're seeing with Bitcoin, you know, pretty much at 30,000 bucks? No, actually, it is out of the ordinary. It's a little bit on the lower side. So, you know, for the people who are looking, you know, much further north, you do have history on your side. And, you know, if I'm giving my personal opinion on it, which you should not give a fuck about to begin with, I would agree with you. You know, if we were to just play around with numbers here on the lower end, 200% move to the upside would be what? That would put you almost at 60,000 bucks. And that was on the lower side, to be fair. On the upper side, you know, we saw about 2,000%. So I'll do this right now. I do not stand by this, though. I do not stand by this, for the love of God. Let me just get the chart ready and let's see what happens. All right, so 2,000%, huh? That would put Bitcoin at a ripe old price of about 400,000. So that's on the upper end. I'm not calling it. Krown said Bitcoin to 400,000 today. I'm going all in, and I'm contacting my bank for a loan and mortgaging my fucking wife and my house and my dogs. Fuck them all. I'm going long, baby. Cause who needs that when you're rich AF in magic internet monies? Wait a second. I can't literally buy nothing with this shit. What the fuck? Okay, you can buy a few things obviously now. I've actually bought plane flights in the past with Bitcoin, which is pretty damn cool. But for the most part, it's massively inconvenient. But still, I'd imagine that, if Bitcoin's getting to those levels, if Bitcoin's even just hanging here for another year, you're probably going to see the infrastructure in the traditional financial world be built up to accommodate it. I imagine you're probably, if Bitcoin gets to 400,000, it's not because Bitcoin went to 400,000. It's because it's actually being, used in a more, workable way, meaning that, you can probably use it a lot more freely, and it's going to become a lot more common. That's probably the next really real phase of this whole move, is actual adoption, which we are seeing. I mean, right now we're kind of seeing the investor phase, I suppose, as you see Michael Saylor get in, Paul Tudor Jones also getting in as well, and those are some big name investors right there who caught a lot of shit for kind of targeting Bitcoin first, and now they look like geniuses to the traditional world, which is just gonna make it more and more accessible to other people. Hello, how good to see you. Elsa has no voice. Elsa has no voice. Okay, let's go check out NASDAQ, see what the techs are doing. Oh, did we make new all-time highs yesterday? I think we actually did not. In fact, just barely shy of a new all-time high. I'll still be looking for all-time highs here. Again, same thing here as I say on Bitcoin. Weekly still looks good. What about the monthly? Oh yeah, that's right. We don't. Yeah, no trading day tomorrow. Today's probably a half day. If I had to get, actually no, it's today full day. It's today full day. I forget. I would assume it's a half day though, and tomorrow's gonna be off. I always fucking forget these things, man. Anyways, to be fair, I would never even go into work during this week when I trade traditional marks. Just like Christmas, end of the year. How about all the time off? There you go. Anyways, looking at the monthly right here. God, my nose is like it's so cold here that like my nose is it's getting flaky and it's gross. Looking at the monthly right here though. Kind of should be bullish coming into January, I suppose, unless if today is like catastrophically down. And when I say catastrophically down, I mean like closing below 12,600. So could happen for sure. But for now, I still remain with my upside targets. Still looks like an uptrend to me, and still looking long term at 13,150 based off the pattern that we put in from, NASDAQ put in from August to November being resolved, and also the cheap pot extension right around 13,150 again. SPY futures. Same thing here. This one looks a little bit more like an obviously healthy consolidation at a high level. Still have targets on this one based off the same sort of formation, 3850, also in line with the 414 there, and just generally looking good monthly here. Looking pretty fucking powerful as well. Again, any sort of a closure above 3650, I'm basically bullish coming into at least early January long term, but probably does pull back around that level as well, to be fair. But that's that would be an obvious buy at that point too, or I shouldn't say obvious buy. This is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, but it would likely work out as a nice bounce at the very least. What about MicroStrategy? How you doing, Mr. Saylor? Yep, there you go. Looking good. Looking very, very good. Above a macro level right here, and I would expect this to go upwards and onwards, probably to 650, the next long-term target. This is a breakout on volume after breaking long-term structure. That's a big deal. And I do think that this chart right here actually kind of lets you trade Bitcoin, but like with knowing already what Bitcoin's doing. It's kind of nice. Bit of a time machine there. Anyways, what else do we have? Do we have tech sector right here? Tech sector closing on new all-time highs as well on the monthly. Weekly is a little bit more toppy. But I want to see how today goes. I wouldn't mind another move back down to 129, but probably does bounce there, and then we'll analyze the monthly closure tomorrow. What about Mr. Should we go down to the shitcoin list now? Actually, let's just do the Bitcoin dominance chart. We don't need to look at fucking Bitcoin pairings for the love of God. Oh, wow. Are we still bullish on this? I think I'm still bullish on this. I'm massively bullish on this. In fact, I'm humongously bullish on this. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if altcoins get another massive, girthy red dildo shoved down that mouth hole and comes out the Angus. Now you're a fucking red dildo popsicle, and enjoy your Cardano's, my car dealer friends, because this is very unlikely to stop here. Short term, does it come back down a little bit? Probably yes. And altcoins get a little bit of a reprieve short term, but long term macro, the trend is very much your friend here, and the trend is very much the upside. It's a very powerful upside trend as well. Weekly, very likely going to close on new, or have a chance to close on new all-time, or sorry, not new all-time highs, but above the prior high right here as well, and now enter into the next melt up phase once again. So I'm bullish on Bitcoin, not the altcoin pairs. But of course, if Bitcoin goes up, they're probably going to benefit from the US dollar pairing as well. How'd you sleep? Okay. Would you like to say hello? She doesn't. She doesn't have a voice right now. Should we check out Link USD? Link USD. Whoa, Jesus, easy there, Mrs. Nails on the chalkboard. I don't know on Link. Short term looks bad. Maybe I should just. He probably does. Wow, yeah, it probably does come back down around here, but I'd be looking for another bounce. I would not fuck around with Link right here. This is not an obvious chart. If it does want to break down, the next target is going to be 935 monthly. I'm not getting much from the monthly here. I mean, technically speaking, it's above all major moving averages, so kind of have to be bullish on that, but doesn't really even have that much history here to begin with. Again, one of the better charts, obviously, but yeah, no call here, no call. It's going to do whatever Bitcoin does. Butyrol, still sticking with my $800 target, still looking good there. Hey, guess what price Bitcoin is? It's $2. Well, if you added about like 5 zeros from there, you might be around, right? Anyways, Butyrol still up, still looking good. Monthly very likely does close rather well here. As long as it closes above 662, I'd be bullish coming into the early January, looking for another up towards $800 about. Be the next macro point. Same thing on weekly. What about on the lower term timeframes? 4 hour. Consolidating at a high level, continuing the uptrend. I still like it. You know, short term does it have a slight down, maybe to 690, possibly yes, but overall I think that this one's actually gunning for new highs on this rally, probably even today. I want to see the monthly close on that one though. What else do we have on top of that? We got what about Litecoin? That one's been actually relatively interesting to look at as of recent times too. Daily a little bit sideways and boring as fuck. Weekly still good here. Still feel bullish for a move to about 140ish region. Monthly is the big one though. If Litecoin closes above 123 today, 7 p.m. Eastern time, which it's looking rather likely, especially based off momentum also it is right here. You have to be kind of targeting the next move to about $200 about. So, and that'd probably be January, February, I'd imagine. So maybe this market tops out in like February rather than mid-January, perhaps. Definitely possible, especially with the market dynamics and Ethereum's CME futures being debuted around then. Anyways, do we want to look at any of this other bullshit over here? How about Ripple? Ripple me nipples? Not good. You don't need me to tell you that. What about Monero? Pretty good actually. Pretty good. Yeah, weekly still kind of trudging its way along. Next area relevant to the upside long term is going to be $200. What about on a short term time frame? However, okay, can we load the chart? Yeah, just kind of crawling sideways here. Nothing too interesting. And I got a lot of questions about this as well, and I guess I'll do this in the Tea Nerd session. Oh my God, this is 37 minutes in. You know what? No, we'll do that maybe on tomorrow's video. Okay, cool. So Bitcoin. Let's set this up so that we can send you on your way. Already sweet. So let's, Jesus Christ, like where do we start off on this one? I guess we'll do the 3-day and the monthly, and we'll also reference Caretaker, and I think that should be the wrap up. Yeah. All right, let's wrap this bitch up. Bitcoin on the 3-day closing above the top side trend band once again sorry. Let's wrap this bitch up. Bitcoin on the 3-day going to have a chance to close above the top side trend band once again, of which it is currently sitting at 27,550. But that's not just what's closing tonight. We also have the monthly, bi-monthly, quarterly, and, well, technically yearly as well, of which that is going to set in the more long-term macro bias here, of which the monthly is going to have a chance to close above the top side trend band as well, as long as it's above about 20,000 or 21,000 right here. Bi-monthly, I believe, is going to be right below 20,000. Yes, indeed, at 19,977. And the quarterly is going to be in the low $19,000 region. 19,375. So as long as all these conditions are met, that would make me bullish basically into January actually for a macro move. Now at the same time, assuming that these conditions are met, I would look for a retest back down to the top side trailing band as it opens up in January, which is probably going to be somewhere around about $24,000 to $25,000. Personally speaking, $24,000 would be a natural pullback target just based off of our prior consolidation zone. However, short term, does that mean that I am bearish here? Well, no. As long as we're above even the short term pivot from the last few days, which is literally more than $1,000 below where Bitcoin is right now at the 3.618 Fibonacci extension right here, based off this consolidation at 27,650, I am basically bullish on all time frames. That also means that Bitcoin can come back down here on short-term time frame and be more or less fine. But as long as Bitcoin is closing 2 hours and 4 hour dildos above this level, I'm essentially just looking for most floaty up action towards 29,500, also based off of Caretaker's target over here, which would be about 30,000 bucks psychological. Or actually, no, that would be, yes, right here on the bull zone consolidation. So just above 30,000 bucks. Also a psychological target as well. And I do believe that we have a major extension here as well. If we put on this, yes, indeed we do. All of these kind of overlaid around that region. So I would be looking for somewhere around there, probably a small pullback off of 30,000 bucks, but it's nothing more than psychological levels. Realistically, the next algo profit taking targets are going to be 31,500. 33,000 and 35,000 respectively, which with a very specific focus on the 35,000 one. Actually, that's a 3.618. That's a big one once again for a macro move off of a Fibonacci extension from the last major consolidation phase from 2018 to 2020. So that's a big one right there, actually. And that very well could be the next major high being put in on Bitcoin. But for right now, short term, I suppose I'm just looking for 29.5 short term, and then 30,000, and then we can talk about more melts up after that. However, I should talk about the downside if it does indeed happen. Below here, I do get short-term bearish. That would be below 27.6. I would be looking for another $1,500 move to the downside towards 26,200. At which point, if we do see a 2 hour or 4 hour closure below this level at 26.2 or 26.3, we'll call it, then I would look for a big move. That makes me actually medium-term bearish for a more than $2,000 drive to the downside at the 2.414 right here. Likely a bounce implied along the way, but just that at 24.5. However, this would be my real target. That would also be in line with where we likely do see the Troll bands open up to start January, and that would be in my next potential, I don't know if I'd say long term, but strong bounce play that I'd be interested in. But until then, I do think that I just remain naturally bullish on basically all time frames here. I understand that this looks fucking crazy. I understand that this is incredibly strong rally, and even on a fucking logarithmic scale now, it is looking like absolutely absurd. Obviously, on a linear scale, it's going to look even more ridiculous, but things can still get a little bit more crazy here, and I do think that we are getting into the final push of this parabolic blow off here. But still, macro, I'd be bullish off that again as long as the conditions are met that we spoke about earlier. So it can still get a little more crazy. I'm not going to call a top until I see something that is resembling a top. So with that in mind, I do want to wish you well, and now we can talk about the sale over here. So all the programs are on sale for 20% off. As I spoke about earlier, Caretaker's STC is now a lifetime purchase rather than a yearly. And with all these programs, do keep in mind that this program, the art and application of TA and the Master Your Options program, these are very much involved. They require a lot of time and effort from your own behalf. They are not magic pills. However, they are very, very powerful. And I just want to make sure that the right type of person gets into this. So unless if you really are trying to, looking to do this as a living, it's probably not relevant for you. Just use the free content, because that's probably going to get you to where you want to be anyways. Or the Neophyte's Initiation to Trading and Technical Analysis, if you do want to, dip your toesy woesies in, but not go for the full commitments. This one would be a good start because it's a lot less financial and time commitment, and will also net you a percentage off on the other programs as well. So, it'd naturally be about the same price anyways. So no harm, no foul on that. Obviously, we have PineScript Mastery over here from Mr. Mournfall himself, the creator of the Jewel and the application, of which he will teach you how to code your own indicators in PineScript. And then in our partner tabs over here, Caretaker STC, lovely. I absolutely love it for scalping on short-term time frames, especially in all markets, but especially Forex actually. And then moving on, what do we have? We have Caretaker RSI. You know it. I love it. And nothing more needs to be said. And then we have Mr. Jackie over here with his group psychology program, where he actually meets with you virtually every week to talk about your trades, run you through that. And this is for the type of person who knows TA but can't put their TA into a workable trading plan. That's who's going to benefit from something like this. And then he also has his video program right here, which obviously you don't benefit from the weekly meetings, but still very, very valuable. So with all of that said, I do want to wish you the best on this last day of 2020, the year that doesn't stop. And I'll see you in 2021. Oh, also I'll be on Twitch today as well, very likely, unless if Elsa is going to be streaming herself. And with that said, I wish you the best of the best. It's been an absolutely phenomenal year, and fuck, I'll save it for the Forex video. So with that said, I salute you. Until next time.